Good evening on this Friday, the 17th of October, 2025. Thank you for choosing Hope TV tonight. I'm Tess Njenga and our sign language interpreter is Boniface Mureithi. Let's take a look at the day's events. Now, Kenya has today paused to honor one of its most enduring political figures, the late former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, during a solemn and historic state funeral held at Nairobi's Nyayo National Stadium. Thousands of mourners from across the country gathered to celebrate his life and legacy as national leaders and foreign dignitaries paid their respects to the man many knew simply as Baba. Odinga, who died earlier this week at the age of 80, was a towering figure in Kenya's struggle for democracy. Our reporter Kennedy Kimani with more on this.
In the quiet hours of Friday morning, the final journey of the late Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga began. His body was moved from the Lee Funeral Home through Nairobi's Valley Road and Kenyatta Avenue, arriving shortly after dawn at the Parliament buildings. There, the former Prime Minister lay in state. At 8:08 a.m., President William Ruto and First Lady Rachel Ruto arrived, joining top leaders of Parliament, the judiciary and the military. The head of state led national leaders in viewing Odinga's body, visibly emotional as he paid his final respects to a man he once opposed and later walked alongside. By mid-morning,
Asante Baba,
attention shifted to the Nyayo National Stadium. As the military convoy carried the casket through the gates, the crowd erupted. Thousands waved white handkerchiefs, danced, and blew vuvuzelas, giving their hero one final stadium welcome. The National Memorial Service began shortly after 10 a.m., led by the Anglican Church of Kenya.
Raila hated dishonesty.
A heartbroken Ida Odinga, the widow to the late Prime Minister, gave a heartfelt appeal, asking Kenyans to honor her husband's legacy by choosing peace, forgiveness, and unity over division and hate.
You've seen how many times he has tried in the elections, but that forgiveness is paramount. So please don't carry grudges from one generation to another and from one group to another. We are all Kenyans. We are all Kenyans. We are sisters and brothers. We must learn to forgive easily and build together Kenya.
President William Ruto paid tribute to Raila Odinga, terming him as a true statesman and thanking the Odinga family for sharing him with the nation.
When a man of the stature of Baba, a towering patriot, a relentless reformer, a visionary statesman, and a selfless servant of the people departs from among us, when a mighty bongo tree falls among us, we are left in awe of a life so immense in purpose and impact. And in that quiet moment of both boundless gratitude and unfathomable grief, we are rightly bound to ask, from where shall another like him rise? Ladies and gentlemen, there was and there can only be one Raila Amolo Odinga.
Siaya Senator Dr. Oburu Odinga delivered an emotional tribute to his late brother, describing him as a confident advisor and lifelong companion.
Even though my brother was almost the same age as me but younger than me, I can tell you that I respected him as my leader in the political arena. And I want to thank my party, ODM, for making me the acting party leader of ODM, the oldest and the largest party in East and Central Africa.
As the ceremony ended, the military and the National Youth Service personnel oversaw the body viewing, an exercise that stretched well into the afternoon before the body was transported to Lee Funeral Home in the evening. Affectionately known as Baba, Raila Odinga died on the 15th of October 2025 at the age of 80 while undergoing treatment in India. His passing has left the nation not just mourning a leader, but reflecting on what his legacy means for Kenya's future. The body of Raila Odinga will now be transported to Nyanza on Saturday, where he will be laid to rest in a private ceremony in Siaya, Bondo this Sunday.
Our brother Raila Odinga.
Kennedy Kimani, Hope TV Newswatch, Nairobi.
We commend your servant Raila Odinga unto you, O Lord.
Thank you, Kennedy, for that report. Now, President William Ruto has led the country in celebrating the life of and legacy of former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. In his speech to the nation, Ruto termed Odinga as a defining figure in the country's history and a moral compass. The head of state also acknowledged Odinga's efforts in defending democracy, further calling on Kenyans to live by his vision of a united country. As Sami Adika reports, the president also recalled how Odinga stood with him during the most turbulent periods of his presidency.
As tens of thousands of Kenyans thronged Nyayo Stadium for the state funeral of the country's political enigma, Raila Amolo Odinga, no much words would best describe the kind of a man the former premier was. Praising Odinga's legacy, President William Ruto described Odinga as a great statesman and a patriot, insisting on the need to celebrate his ideals and vision for a better country.
He walked among us as a man, but he also charged among us as a movement for change, a movement for justice, and a movement for inclusivity, and a movement for a greater and better Kenya.
The head of state also took the opportunity to hail Odinga for entering into a working agreement with his administration to stabilize the government that had been threatened by the youth uprising in 2024.
When I stood by him with the other Pentagon members at a defining moment in his and our nation's history, I neither knew that one day we would find ourselves on opposite sides, nor could I have imagined that years later he would stand by me, this time to steady the nation and to help anchor my leadership, culminating in the birth of the broad-based government.
Despite Odinga having been a family man, he still was able to extend his care for the nation, with President William Ruto promising to stand by the family throughout the mourning period.
Amolo may no longer walk with us, but his spirit lives within every Kenyan and every African.
Fondly referring to Raila by his nickname, Ruto described him as more than a friend who was mindful of those around him, evident by the depth of his influence beyond the country's borders.
Those who worked closely with the Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga know that he was irrevocably stubborn in his vision for a just, prosperous, and united Kenya, a nation where opportunity belonged to all and justice favors none.
As the country mourns Raila Odinga, his impact to President William Ruto's presidency will remain significant, with Ruto acknowledging his readiness to heed to the country's call whenever he was needed. For Newswatch, I'm Sami Adika.
Much appreciated, Adika. Now, Winnie Odinga has paid a heartfelt tribute to her father, the late former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, during his state funeral at Nyayo National Stadium. She said Raila passed away strong, with dignity and pride in India, adding that he died in her arms after walking 5 laps that morning, his strongest day yet. She fondly recalled their home life as a vitendawili testing ground, where Raila often challenged them with riddles and trivia. Winnie also dismissed media claims regarding the late former Prime Minister's death.
I don't know who I'll miss more, my dad or my superhero. I've been the luckiest girl in the world because you are my dad. Only 3 other human beings were as lucky as me: Fidel, Rosie, and Junior. Dad, you are light, steady, unyielding, and deeply human. To the world, you are known by many names. When you were growing up, they used to call you Aluo. And then when you started work, they started calling you Jaramogi's son. And at some point, they started to call you Tinga. At another point, they started to call you Agwambo. Briefly there, they called you Nyundo. They called you Jacom. They called you Baba Fidel. But in the end, they called you Baba.
Meanwhile, Mama Ida Odinga has called for peace as the country mourns the late former Prime Minister. Speaking during the state funeral, she urged Kenyans to honor Raila's deep love for peace by mourning peacefully.
I don't know who I'll... Forgiving spirit was not only in the home, but is something that he has spread to the Kenyan. You've seen how many times he has tried in the elections, but that forgiveness is paramount. So please don't carry grudges from one generation to another and from one group to another. We are all Kenyans. We are all Kenyans. We are sisters and brothers. We must learn to forgive easily and build together Kenya. But one thing that he kept on repeating to me is that we must urge Kenyans to live in peace. He kept on repeating that. We must repeat it to our Kenyans. We live in peace.
Now, perhaps one of the moments that took the spotlight during the state funeral service of former Prime Minister Raila Odinga is the fiery sermon by David Kodia, Bishop of the Anglican Church in Bondo Diocese. Speaking at Nyayo Stadium, Bishop Kodia condemned politicians who use public office to loot resources instead of serving the people.
Total liberation of our country from those who are looting everything from us, from country level to everywhere. If there is anyone here, I want us to make a testament. I want us to make a testament with the people of Kenya. If there is anyone here, at whatever level, be you a governor, be you an MCA,
Be you, whoever it is, who has looted this country, you know you stand a chance of being condemned.
And on that note, let's take a short break on Newswatch tonight. Don't go too far. We have more coming up.
Get ready for an unforgettable worship experience. Every Sunday on Ultimate Worship. Where we bring you live music, powerful praise, and anointed gospel ministers and bands. Join us every Sunday, 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. with a repeat at 6 p.m. to 7 p.m.
Everywhere I go, I see you right there.
It's not just music, it's worship unleashed. It's ultimate worship.
You're too faithful to fail me.
Only on Hope TV, where you look and live.
Are you ready now?
Hello there, my name is Beatrice Nudi, a host on Hope at Dawn with George Gishuru. Thank you so very much for your support and your loyal viewership. How is the signal in your area? We would love to know. Please do scan the QR code that you see on your screen so that we can know how to serve you better.
What if your pain had a purpose? What if your past was just a beginning of a greater story?
Gotten to another level because now I could not do anything without it, and now it became like a poison. I take it today, it grounds me for 3 more days.
If I had not read the Bible, when I read the Bible, it just confirmed all the more that I had an encounter with the Lord, because I told him, Lord, why have you come to me?
From the streets to the sanctuary, from the prison yard to the pulpit, real people are sharing the power of God's transforming love. No matter where you've been, God can rewrite your story.
So I got him, I just called, and by luck, he picked up the phone. I explained everything and what I was feeling. He started praying in tongues immediately over the phone, and that thing, whatever it was, it stopped.
Join me, Sharon Aitore Wanganye, for Testify every Thursday at 8 p.m. as we listen through the journey of hope, healing, and redemption through the voices of people just like you.
And when you're running away from God, there's only the far you can run. I stand here as a witness that God catches up.
These aren't just stories, they are testimonies. Don't just watch. Testify.
Now, former President Uhuru Kenyatta has eulogized Raila Odinga as a beacon of peace and democracy in the country. Speaking during the former Prime Minister's state funeral, Uhuru said that no account of the country's history will ever be told without a mention of Raila's name. The former head of state also took the opportunity to urge Kenyans to maintain their his ideals that favored no tribe but full of love for his country.
The reception by mourners will tell that former President Uhuru Kenyatta still has an aura. His presence at the state funeral of his longtime ally was a sign of their friendship beyond the political podium. Addressing mourners, the former head of state described Odinga as a great patriot whose contribution to the country's democracy remains unparalleled.
Kenya imepoteza kiongozi ambaye historia ya demokrasia katika taifa letu la Kenya haiwezi iandikwe bila la jina la Raila Amolo Odinga kuwa nambari 1. Historia ya Kenya ya kutetea haki za kibinadamu na haki za wananchi wote haiwezi iandikwe bila jina ya Raila Amolo Odinga kuwa nambari 1.
Linking the former Prime Minister to Africa's liberation icons, Uhuru insisted that Kenyans must continue championing for ideologies that the former Premier stood for.
Leo hii tukiwa tunaaga baba yetu Raila Amolo Odinga, nataka pia tujiape ya kwamba hatutakubali kama Wakenya haki za kibinadamu, demokrasia na mambo yale yote ambayo Raila alitetea, hatutakubali yarudi nyuma.
Finishing his address with talks of life after death with Raila,
na sio ati niko na haraka ya kuja kuwafikia, lakini
that lightened the somber mood at Nyayo Stadium, Uhuru emotionally termed his death as a personal loss of a friend.
Raila alikupenda kwa sababu ya maono yako, alikupenda kwa sababu ya fikira zako, alikupenda kwa sababu ya vitendo yako, lakini sio kwa sababu ya rangi yako ama kabila lako.
With only 2 days to Raila's interment, Uhuru has pledged his care for the family of Odinga in honor of their friendship.
Familia yako sasa imekuwa yetu na tutaendelea kuwalinda na kuwachunga siku hii ya leo.
For Newswatch, I'm Sami Adika.
The Orange Democratic Movement announced a change in the funeral plans for the late former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. ODM Communications Director Philip Etale says the body will no longer be taken to Odinga's current residence for an overnight stay as earlier scheduled. Instead, after the public viewing at Nyayo National Stadium, the body has been returned to Lee Funeral Home for preservation ahead of airlifting to Kisumu on Saturday morning. Etale apologized for the sudden change, citing unavoidable circumstances. Thousands of mourners have been paying their last respects at Nyayo Stadium, where the ODM leader had been lying in state. Residents of Kisumu County have vowed to walk from Kisumu to Bondo's Kangoka Jaramogi tomorrow in honor of the late Raila Amolo Odinga. The symbolic journey is part of their final tribute to the former Prime Minister, whom they described as a fearless champion for justice and equality, regardless of class. The residents say Raila's legacy lives on through the freedoms he fought for and the lives he touched across the country.
Kwa kusema kweli ni huzuni ambaye imetanda katika nchi yetu. Kupoteza mzee ambaye alitetea haki ya wengi, haki ya wale ambao walikuwa wanyonge. Kama sisi wengine tulikuwa bado watoto, lakini ile ushujaa wake na ukarimu wake na ile hali alijitolea imefanya hata sisi tumekuja tukakuwa mahali tumefika juu ya ile uongozi ule ambao aliweka na ile mikakati ile ambayo aling'ang'ana kuwa anataka usawa wa kila mtu, mwananchi wa chini, mwananchi wa juu, ule mnyonge kupata haki. Chenye mimi nina uhakika na wakazi wetu wa Kisumu na wananchi wa Kisumu kuwa itakuwa ni njia ambaye ya amani sana.
Na Kenya anamwambia tu wa Kenya wakuwe na amani, kile ambacho kilifanyika jana isirudie tena hapa Kisumu.
Tuko na huzuni sana, huzuni kubwa sana. Baba ameacha pengo kubwa sana. Hakuna ambaye hatujui ni nani ataweza ziba hiyo pengo. Tutatembea mpaka Bondo kumwonyesha ishara ya mapenzi yake kwetu, na tuende tumlaze mahali pema peponi.
Ahead of Raila Odinga's state funeral today, the body of the former Prime Minister lay in state at Parliament buildings. This gave members of Parliament and foreign dignitaries who missed the earlier viewing at Kasarani Stadium a final chance to pay their respects. The lying in state had initially been planned for Thursday but was disrupted by chaotic crowds in Nairobi, forcing police to intervene. Due to security concerns and logistical changes, the body was instead moved to Kasarani. Kenya Airways has increased its flights to Kisumu this weekend to meet the high travel demand following the death of former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. In a statement, the airline announced additional flights on Friday at 1:30 p.m. and 7 p.m. On Saturday, the 6:50 a.m. and 6:54 a.m. flights have been upgraded to larger aircraft, as have the 8:05 a.m. and 7 p.m. flights on Sunday. Monday flights will also use bigger flights. KQ has promised to ensure smooth travel for all passengers. And across our borders, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is set to meet U.S. President Donald Trump in Washington as discussions continue over whether to supply Ukraine with long-range Tomahawk missiles. The meeting follows Trump's phone call with Russian President Vladimir Putin on Thursday, which he described as very productive, with plans for face-to-face talks in Hungary. Zelensky, on his third U.S. visit this year, said Moscow scrambles to resume dialogue whenever talks of Tomahawk surfaces. Trump has not ruled out arming Ukraine with the missiles, but expressed concerns about depleting the U.S. stockpile.
I did actually say, would you mind if I gave a couple of thousand Tomahawks to your opposition? I did say that to him. I said it just that way. He didn't like the idea.
And we have come to the end of Newswatch tonight. On behalf of the whole team, thank you for watching. I'm Tess Njenga, and our sign language interpreter is Boniface Murithi. Till next time, have a good night.